2, 3, 4.
Good morning, my brothers and sisters. On this, our 92nd episode of the Good Morning Guys podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine morning, afternoon, evening, or night as we discuss the game of life amidst the other games we love to watch and to play. I'm one of your hosts, the Brazilian Mountaineer and Transition Ninja, Lucas Ham Swisher. Also with us, the judge, jury, and executioner of fake news and spoilers, Patrick Novosel. Woo! Yeah, he's ready. On his left and my right, the volleyball and beast of the East who can make you laugh in 3 words or less, or your money back, Ronnie Johantges.
Hi.
Wait, who's paying for that?
You guys
Also, you don't get your money back.
Yep, you lost it right then and there. And our final member of the GMG Quadfecta, who's got music in his heart, Doctor Who on his brain, and 9 times out of 10, La Coretta in his old estomago, Marc Boucher.
And for the second week in a row, it is fresh.
Packed to
in
the
the old
rim.
estomago.
I'll take the over on the 9 out of 10.
Yeah, you're going with the over 10 out of
I'll
10
take
times.
that.
All right, we'll see.
And
We will see.
so the beautiful thing was I got to have it in the restaurant tonight.
Whoa.
Nice.
Yeah.
You heard it here, folks. First
2 weeks from now,
First reporting.
Mark will be not on the podcast because of sickness.
Oh, don't say that. Better knock on some wood or something.
That's fake news.
Yeah, totally fake news. Glad you killed that one, even
Yep.
though you put it out there. All right. Well, guys, we are not the only 4 in the quadfecta tonight. We have a 5th member to add tonight for yet another week. A beautiful guest from the beautiful Vancouver, Washington, the great northwestern corner of the United States. He's known to many as the podcast junkie, but when he isn't curating the best and most notable indie podcasts that money can't buy, he's playing any game with the word Zelda in it and collecting the nerdiest stuff that he can find. Zach Auld, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, how's it going?
Or as I should say, Zachary Auld.
Oh, God. Has it not changed yet?
Thank you. Welcome. No, you're
I
still
changed
Zachary
it.
Auld.
Dang it. Okay.
I swear!
I swear. Google's
Gotta
doing
love
me.
technology.
Google's doing me dirty.
Tonight on the podcast, Zach has a name tag on for Google Meets, and it says Zachary Auld.
This is
so
terrible.
Make sure you refer to him in the coming days and weeks ahead as Zachary. He no longer goes by Zach.
Apparently
He wants
not.
to be full named.
Apparently.
Zachary Auld.
Oh, on my side, it
It's
just
the-
says
it's
you.
the adult name.
Yeah, it's his adult name.
Yeah, it's my adult name. Thanks.
It's his
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, Zach. How are you doing this
I'm
evening,
doing
brother?
well. Every time that I click on my web camera and I click back to you guys are in different areas on the screen.
Ooh, it's like
Yeah, this is
musical
fancy.
chairs.
Yeah.
Podcast style.
Exactly. I'm doing well,
Nice.
though. How are you guys?
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Good.
I
2
feel
out
like
of-
Patrick's always in the top right for me every time.
He's always in the top left for me.
Really?
And
I'm
you're
always
always
in
in
the
the top
top.
right.
What?
Well, that's weird.
How
like
do you
the top
change
right.
it?
I
You can change
literally
it.
just
I've never touched it.
just click on the U up at the top right of the screen and click it again, and then you guys are in different areas.
Gotta be a wizard.
Oh.
Nope, that just made my
Oh,
head
oh,
go
there
big.
it goes.
Now I don't
Oh,
see
there it
it.
goes.
Whoa!
Yeah,
What?
I don't recommend doing it.
Oh, why did you do
Oh,
this?
this is going to be weird. Nope.
Oh,
I gotta-
destroyed
I
my
gotta-
world.
How do I
Go
get
back,
How
go
do I get
back.
back?
Patrick,
I
you're bottom
Control
left
Z?
now. Whoa.
Undo.
What have you done?
And I ruined the podcast.
Oh,
We
no.
gotta start over.
We're like
Ronnie
3
and-
minutes in, already destroyed it.
Yep, Ronnie and Patrick are in the right place, but now Zach and Mark switch places. So, Mark, if I refer to you as Zach, it's not my fault. It's Zach's fault.
This is all riveting podcasting because
It
nobody
is.
knows
This
what's
is
going
why
on.
they pay us the big bucks. All right, we're about to jump into what's new news in our lives, what's been going on. Zach, as the guest, I'm going to just throw you a curveball and ask you to either start or choose who will lead the way. It's all
All
up
right.
to you.
We're
You're
going to
quick on
go
your
with
feet.
whoever's in the top left whenever this goes again. And that's Lucas. There we go. Lucas
All
goes
Oh,
first.
all right.
That never happens.
roulette.
I was about to say, and that's Patrick. Never mind. It's not based on. It's not my left. It's your left.
Exactly.
Sweet. Well, my update is not too crazy and wild. This past week, my daughter is still addicted to Minecraft, so we got Minecraft Addiction Update Week 2. Today, my daughter discovered the joys of DLC and of not having it when she wants to do something fun. So this past week, we had our camp. So I never knew this was a thing in Minecraft, but your camp can be raided by pillagers. Yeah. There's these villagers called pillagers, and they're really ugly version of the villagers, and they have little flags, and then you hear this horn like burr, 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 burr. and then like 4 of them come and attack you, and this little bar at the top says raid, and you kill them, and then it does it like 3 times over until they bring a huge bull to attack you with them. That's apparently the boss. It's a huge bull, and that's. So anyways,
I've never heard of this.
I had never heard of this either. I guess once Microsoft bought Minecraft, they were just like, "Hey, we got to throw our own flair into this baby.
Pulling
We
out
need
all
a
the
big
stops.
bull.
We got to
That's
make
right.
it suck less. Yeah.
Yeah." So after that, Tasha was like, "We need a golem." And so she Googled how to make a golem. She's like, "There's an iron golem. Oh, wait, you can make an obsidian golem." And so she spent this past week finding mustard seeds. No, pumpkin seeds. Not mustard seeds. I'm getting my vegetables mixed up. Pumpkin seeds, because she wanted to grow a pumpkin, because that's like the head of the golem. And once you set up your objects in a certain order, you put the pumpkin on top, and it turns into a golem. So finally, after a week, she collected all the items and did it, and nothing happened.
Well, hold on. Let's
What?
back up. What is a golem? The only thing I'm thinking
No,
of is
not a
Lord of the
golem.
Rings.
That's that's the precious, stupid fat hobbits. No,
You
that's
can make that in Minecraft?
no. That would be sweet.
Yes.
that would also
Copyright
scare the crap out of my
infringement.
son.
Lord of the Rings mashup.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings Minecraft. I could definitely get behind. No,
It's
this
the Lord
is
of the Rings DLC.
yeah. You have to
That's
buy
what
that
she's
too.
missing.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the 500 DLC she's missing. No, this is a golem. It's pretty much a big, like, it's just
Like a
just
big
a
rock?
big creature
Rock, yeah.
that punches you.
It's a big rock creature that you got to put a piece of paper underneath its tongue, and then it does whatever you say to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zach knows what's
I've-
going on.
Minecraft,
I've listened to
Patrick, just
lore.
let it go.
I've listened to lore before.
Is it like
There
All
you
you
go.
gotta do is this loose leaf piece of paper, college ruled,
Yeah.
put it underneath the tongue.
Yeah, it has to
Yeah.
be college rule. Yeah.
Is it like
Has
the
to be
Pokemon
cultural.
Golem?
Yeah.
What?
No,
There's
which-
a
Like the
Pokemon
Pokemon
golem?
character?
Yeah, there is a
Golem?
Pokemon called Golem.
like a
Yeah,
boulder,
that's
isn't
the
he?
that's
Oh,
the
there
round
is.
boulder
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
arms
yeah.
coming out.
Right.
Not the same. This
Nope.
one is very much more square. It
This
has
has got a
like
pumpkin on the head.
no elbows, and it just moves. And when it gets mad at you, it hits you. So, anyways, she wanted to make an
Hers
obsidian
doesn't
one.
do that, though.
No, hers doesn't do that. Hers doesn't do anything.
What you gotta do is you just gotta take a big old piece of paper and cover the golem with it because paper beats rock. So
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. But after she tried to make it and it failed, I decided to Google and find out. And I found out that you have to have the Golem DLC, or the Golem mod DLC is the name of it, which we do not have. And I'm not paying any more money on Minecraft.
you
so,
are a smart man.
Yeah,
She just
so I-
spent a week doing this.
yes, she did. I mean,
She's
it was
gonna
so
game her,
funny
just Let her
too.
know that that's gonna happen for the rest of her life. Wasting
Yeah,
time
that's
doing
that.
shit.
This is her wake up call.
paywall.
And it was so funny. She was like Googling over and over, and all of a sudden she was like, "Oh wait, I have to light its shoulders on fire with flint and steel." And so she went and got her flint and steel and just went up and like lit fires on its shoulder. Nothing. And like it was just, I felt so bad for her. She took it like a champ, but yeah, she's moved on. She's moving on to other things. I don't know what yet, but yeah, I'll have an update.
She threw
again next
Minecraft
week.
out the window. After
Oh
that.
no, she's in love with Minecraft. It would take more than that to ruin her.
Oh, there we go.
Yep, there you go. There's a golem. Golem. Dang it, I said it wrong. That's a golem. For those not looking in the podcast, sorry.
Everybody.
Just Google
Yeah.
it.
Yep, just
Everyone,
Google
just
it. You
Google
can find it.
golem. It's really not that exciting. I forgot how
Kinda
big
looks
their
like
noses
the big
are.
rock dude from like Neverending Story.
Okay,
Yeah, kinda.
yeah. It does kind of look like him.
He kind of looks like a roided out Squidward.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, I see it. Yep. 1000%.
I'll never be able to unsee that. SpongeBob. Except now it would be like SpongeBob.
All right. We're gonna go back a little bit. What's a Squidward?
What?
Oh, dear
What do you
God.
mean?
If
What's
I
a
have to explain
Squidward,
that to
Patrick?
you,
SpongeBob?
You have
I don't know what to do with
children.
you.
Oh no,
Are
we
you
don't watch
serious?
that SpongeBob. No, nope.
Wow.
You guys are missing out.
Yeah, man.
I will
You're
pray
totally
for
missing
you.
out, Patrick. It's good stuff. My wife hates that show.
Hold on, let's go back. What is
like it.
praying?
Dear Lord, make me a bird to fly far, far, far away from here. That's one of
Where
the
are
prayers
we
I pray
right
during
now?
this podcast. We are off the rails.
What show is this again?
This is called Happy Trails to You until we meet again. All right. Besides my daughter's addiction to Minecraft, I am addicted to Dead Cell still.
No surprise.
No, and you shake your head. I know you're going to be like, oh, here we go again. But I finally beat 5 BC.
Really?
Yes, with an asterisk.
Nice. Congrats.
Like Barry
Congrats,
Bonds
man.
with
Oh,
an
no
asterisk.
way. Oh, cheat codes?
No, I didn't do cheat
Performance-enhancing
codes.
drugs.
Yeah, so I had spent the last month or two just doing 4 BC runs over and over again to upgrade stuff and unlock some things, and then finally I was like, I just want to experience it because I know that I'm not just going to play it once. I kind of felt like, I don't know if you guys have ever had this where you get this mind block where you're not sure you can do something, but then once you've done it or you've seen someone do it, then it's like, okay, I can do this. I kind of was feeling that, and so I just wanted to experience the last true boss, and so I did some tweaking on things and did a custom match where I could pretty much have more life throughout the game, so it would be a little bit easier. The enemies were just as hard, but I got a little extra life throughout it. No, I could die, and I died many times, many times. But I got to the end, and I fought the true boss, and I discovered that is not the true end.
Oh.
6 BC. Here we come.
No, there's no 6 BC. But pretty much you have to beat 5 BC to discover and get sent back in time to the very beginning of the game with everything still unlocked. But then you have to beat it again to unlock something else, and then fight the true boss again.
And then
to
after
then
you
see
beat
the
that
true
true
ending.
boss, then you bring back to the beginning again
Yes,
to defeat the true boss.
yes. And then as a fetus, you run around and try to. No, I don't know.
And then if you're Marc Boucher, what you do is you go to delete, and you delete the game.
Yes, because if Apex had that, you wouldn't
Yeah, probably
play
not.
it whatsoever.
Probably
You're
not.
right, you'd play it. You would not delete it.
If Apex
But it's
had,
all
what,
good.
like battles between fetuses?
Yep, fetus battles. What
Got it.
everybody's
Let's steer
dying
out
to
of the
see.
skid here.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Oh man.
It sounds like a new indie game coming out.
Yeah.
It definitely does. It's out there.
From the makers of
actually-
Super Meat Boy, it's
Fetus battles. Fetus Smash Brothers.
gosh.
Yeah. So besides that,
I kind of want to see this game.
the last thing I've been
Unlockable DLC.
playing,
You can actually play as a kid.
Mark, I'm trying, but Zach is just like the perfect guest, and he keeps
He's
going.
like grabbing the wheel, like, nope, we're doing this.
Nope, we're still going. I love this. It's what I live for. Get on podcasts and just keep the car going all over the place, not on the road. The last thing I wanted to say is I started XCOM 2. Have you guys played this?
Oh.
Anybody played XCOMs?
No.
Anyone?
Not my cup of tea.
Bueller?
I installed
Fantastic.
it once, but never played it.
All right. I'll give you the quick elevator pitch. It's chess meets Independence Day, the movie.
And I'm
You're
out.
pretty much fighting to save humanity, and it's an action game, but it is like chess because it's a role-playing game in terms of like you take turns and all this
no,
jazz.
turn-based,
Yeah.
that's where you got
no,
me.
so
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
You won't like it, but you're still gonna play it, Patrick, because I discovered custom mode where.
What?
Well, I'm
No.
gonna explain. You're still gonna play it.
Stop
but-
your squinting.
yeah,
and you're
stop your
playing it.
squinting and listen. You're playing it, but you're not playing it. Your avatar's going to play it because I found that you can make custom soldiers, and I'm making all of you as we speak.
Okay.
So,
I need to see this. Can you
you-
customize their look and all that?
yeah, oh yeah.
All
so
right.
you guys will see yourselves this week in digital
Oh, that's
form.
going to be awesome.
I've already made Patrick, Ronnie, Mark, myself, and a few other people that have been guests. Zach, now that you've been here tonight, you are
Oh,
also
dear God. I'm going to be the
gonna
first one that
joining the mix.
dies.
No, I won't let that happen. I won't let that happen, man. I'll protect
Now,
you.
with each passing day, like, you have to change Patrick's hair length to make it grow taller and taller.
Yeah, I'll work on
As
that.
you get forward into the storyline, it gets taller and
Hopefully,
taller
I'll unlock
and taller
more hair
until-
pieces
Until it's a weapon.
Yeah, I'll be using it as a weapon because unfortunately I got the tallest hair I could find for Patrick. Actually, one of the hair pieces is Guile's hair, so it's like that. So I might just change it to that one and make that Patrick's hair. But yeah, I'm really excited. I've played the original XCOM, and when I played it before, you could customize it, but it was you just changed the names, and they usually didn't look anything like the person. But this one, I can change your looks, and so you guys sporting beards have beards, and Ronnie's got a forwards cap on and glasses. Actually, he's got a backwards cap on and sunglasses. So he's rocking it, and so I'm really excited to. I'm gonna just make up a bunch of custom guys that I know, and I hope you guys don't die. I'll do my best to let you live, but we'll find out as the weeks and months ahead go. So after this, that's all I got. So next up, I'm gonna say Ronnie Johantges. What's up with you?
Well, I'm still playing Ark.
Yeah. Hanging with the dinosaurs.
Still got a couple of bosses to go before I can get to the next map, basically.
There are bosses? What are the bosses like? Is it like Turok?
So, we've only fought one boss so far, and it was a giant spider, basically. So, we actually we took like 20 T-Rexes in, and it just like...
That's all? Just 20?
Oh, man, it was an army. But anyways, you fight this gigantic spider, and you have all the Rexes and stuff. We barely got through, but we did. And then we're going to fight the next one. We're basically ready to do that, so in the next couple of days, probably. It doesn't take very long, like in under 30 minutes. The only thing that takes long is gathering all your stuff to go.
Yeah, you gotta herd the T-Rexes everywhere. It's like, come here, guys, over here.
Yeah, but it's like some kind of gorilla or monkey of some kind that we have to go fight. So I have
King Kong?
Yeah, I have no clue. There's a couple of them, but still playing that. Back on the regular life front, I actually played volleyball for the first time in probably 3 months.
He's back.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
back,
so
baby.
We started volleyball back up. We played on Friday. I played three matches, so like 9 total, 3 hours. And I realized I haven't moved in 3 months.
Oh no!
Like I woke up on Saturday and like could barely get up. Like it was rough. It was really rough. Like Saturday for me, like I had plans to go like do stuff, get some stuff done, and I did nothing for the whole day because I could barely move. So
Nice. I feel you, man.
on Sunday I actually went kayaking again, which was a mistake to go back-to-back weeks. This time it was with some family, a couple of friends, but I got sunburnt pretty good, which is weird because I like sprayed the aerosol like all over me like more than once, and I still got burned. And I'm pretty much a ginger. Like when I grow my beard out, it's pretty red. So the sun is my mortal enemy. And apparently sunscreen didn't work at all. Like the tops of my knees got burnt.
Oh, gosh.
That's the worst.
It was so bad. Yeah,
It's painful.
But we had a good time. I mean, it was another 8-mile trip. It's right down the street from our house, so like we could just like run up there pretty much any time, and it's pretty fun to go out there with family. This week was actually the first time I've been kayaking and not fallen off.
Nice.
Hey, whoa!
Congrats.
Yeah.
Look at you.
It was my first time. Like I
Nice.
think I'm finally getting into that like normal human being stage where I can go the whole time without tipping over. So that was great. I would have rather tipped over than get sunburnt though, for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I got the raw end of that one. I'll go over any day. But that's pretty much it for me. It was a really kind of nice laid back week, and I was recovering most of the weekend from volleyball on Friday.
Nice.
I was feeling very mid-30s.
Do you enjoy Ark?
Yeah, I love that game.
Do you? All right. I haven't played it since it like first came out, and I didn't like it was super glitchy, so I haven't like jumped back in again. But
So I started playing on single player because I'm not really like I've never been one for multiplayer games. Like the first thing,
me either.
The first thing I do if I like log into a server, if I like start getting killed, like I'm done. Like there's nothing worse than getting killed by a 12-year-old kid who you know's 12 years old. By the way, he's trash talking you, and you're like, well, I don't have a chance in here. Like I'm never gonna put in that much time. But so I started playing on single player, and then my stepbrother, Bengalman09, his name's Eric. We've been playing together. Like you can basically like and you can create a non-dedicated server and invite people to it. So I was able to have him like pull a character over from one of his maps, and we're basically like working through all the stuff. So
Nice.
it's actually kept me involved in the game, because the game really is. It is a fun single player game, but it is a game that's made, for you to have a tribe or a party. Some of that stuff is really pretty rough.
Maybe I'll have to jump back in and try out the single player for a little bit, see if it catches my eye again.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be. I found that I really love open world games, and that's just a giant open world game. So I'm gonna hang in there as long as I can. I've played this longer than I've played most games.
Nice.
Like I think Red Dead Redemption was the last one that really got me, like this did.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it is a really fun game. I mean, they're constantly making updates to it and stuff, and there's always events going on, but. Yeah, I didn't realize when I started playing it how long it's actually been out. Like, this game has been out for
I was gonna say, I feel like
years or something ridiculous.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like it was like 7 years ago or so that I jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah, that happens so much with PC games where when they eventually come to console, it's like, wow, this is really cool, and PC guys are like, yeah, that's been out for 5 years.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
pardon our dust as we're leaving you behind in it.
Yeah. Good old lucky master race. All right.
But that is it. That is it for me.
Sweet.
Do I get to call on somebody now? Mark, what's going on with you?
There you go. Fine choice.
So what do you say, Mark? Because Mark. I had a pretty chill past week. I don't remember if I mentioned it on the show or not last week. I think I got it after. But I got me a big boy toy this past week. So I sold my old flat screen TV, the 1080p TV, and got me a 4K TV.
Look out.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm upgrading, kind of looking to the future as we're looking at new consoles and things like that, things that have the ability to do native 4K and things like that. I figured let's go ahead and upgrade. So got me an LG 4K TV, and I'm very much enjoying it so far. Obviously, I don't really have much of anything that really pushes the 4K yet, but it's just keeping the future in mind. So I sold my old TV really quick. Like it was amazing to me how quickly it just was gone, and had like 10 to 15 people asking for it. So,
wow. Nice.
But, so upgraded there. That was pretty much one of the bigger highlights of this past week.
It's almost a revelation when you get a new TV, though. Like, you like plug it in the first time, you're like, wow, I have been just like living in the dumps.
Yep. and it's a smart TV too, so it's got like all sorts of internet capabilities and
like you can go to like Netflix right on the front and stuff. Like, I just switched to a smart TV like the past like 2 years, like, and I kind of went all out. But the one I had before that, I think was it may have been a 1080. I mean, the TV was like probably 12, 13 years old.
Yeah,
big TV, but like it, I couldn't read stuff. I'm like standing at the TV, like this 55-inch TV. I'm standing right next to it to try and read like the dialogue boxes in like a video game. I'm like, man, we got to get something else. This is bad.
Yeah, and it's got like all sorts of different apps on it. It actually works with my Amazon Echo Dot. So if you say that particular name that I don't want to say, because there could be people with this particular item all around, and it usually trips that off.
Do it.
Hey,
Alexa.
Oh, dang it. And she'll be like, what? No, it's funny when I watch Ed Placencia, whenever he does his cooking streams, and he uses the Echo Dot to set timers and stuff like that. I'm usually watching in the living room. That's right where my Echo is. And he's like, blah, blah, set a timer for this. There are currently no timers set. I was like, well, yes, that's right. It has voice commands and stuff like that. It'll work with the Echo Dot and all that kind of stuff. So it's super fancy. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm excited to really push the horsepower on it in the future. But the only other major thing that happened this week, especially on the gaming front, obviously played some more Apex, got some more wins. But the thing that actually happened tonight was I completed The Last of Us.
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
I saw that.
Literally, I think I had like maybe an hour and a half tonight left when I went through. I played it on easy mode just so that I could go through the story and catch up pretty quickly because of something that is happening sometime this week.
Soon, very soon.
Yeah. But we'll come back to that in a second. But how do I say this without getting into details on it?
It's a game.
Yes, this is true. It's a
got a
game,
story.
and it has
got
a
a
beginning, a middle,
protagonist.
and an end.
Villains.
And the end.
There's a zoo.
That's true.
It's bloody.
I can say that there are certain animals involved,
Yep. Zoo animals.
which were very pretty. Zoo animals. I got to touch one of them, and
Spoilers.
yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Is this
man,
Joe
you're
Exotic?
So close, Mark. So
Yeah.
close.
But no, okay. So obviously I'm not going to go into specifics of the ending, but I have this gripe with lots of games. Now, don't get me wrong, and obviously we'll talk more about it in the spoiler cast that we're doing for The Last of Us this week. We're going to record it this week, and I'll talk more about it. But I think one of the gripes I have with modern video games, like within the past probably 10 years, is there's no really definitive boss. Like, you know how like the old school games where it's like, man, the big boss, you've got to really set yourself up, and there's like 3 different phases. Like, for example, that thing on your wall, Zach, Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
I'm assuming is that Ocarina of Time?
I don't know which one you're looking at. Probably this one.
Yes.
Yeah, that one's Ocarina of Time.
Okay. So Ocarina of Time, Ganon had like 3 phases. 2
Yeah.
phases? Yeah.
Yeah, 2 of them.
So, but that was like really epic.
Yeah.
And
And they were
plus,
hard.
Yeah, and after you beat Ganon, or after you beat Ganondorf, you had to like run down through the castle as it's blowing
Yep.
up and all that. That kind of epicness.
Yeah.
Now, I understand it's The Last of Us, and so it's a different story that they're telling. It's not as, I guess, not as fantastical. Obviously, it has like zombies in it, but
yeah.
it doesn't have that fantastical element to it. But I don't know. It just felt like there wasn't really a boss to it. And that
Maybe
kind
because
of
it's now we know it's part 1.
true. And I mean, I assume I guess there could be a big boss in part
Maybe
2.
there'll be. Well, that would be quite the crossover if it had Big Boss in part 2.
Ha ha ha.
of The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Crossover.
Metal Gear Solid. Yeah.
Gear.
Snake. But no. Overall, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed this game. I had a great time with it.
That's good. That's good.
Good,
That's to
good.
hear.
Glad to hear it.
I've still never beat it either.
Really?
Yeah.
I never thought I was gonna go back to it, honestly, because like I played the first hour-ish of it, and I was like, I'm really not that interested. But I gave it a chance, and just pushed past where I stopped, and it started getting interesting, and I enjoyed where they were going with the story, and I knew where they were going to end up, but the journey was still really good. And I just wish there had been more of a huge climax to it than there was. And we'll talk more about it in the spoiler cast. But overall, I think it's a great game. Is it the best PlayStation game I've ever played? No, I would not say that. But it's still a great game. I just think for my cup of tea, what I enjoy in a video game, I think ones like God of War and Spider-Man and things like that, those are more interesting to me, and so I hold them in a higher regard. But the story of this was great. I enjoyed it, for sure.
good. It's a 7-year-old game, and for you to enjoy it in this 7 years later, that's good.
Yeah,
Yep.
and like we talked about last week, it had some little quirks that you can tell it's an older game, but they did a great job with the remaster of it. There's a lot of things about it that look beautiful. They did a great job with the remastering of it. But
It's crazy to think when you look back on it that at its time it was doing a lot of things that they weren't doing back then, and it was like it had a feel to it that I know that this part 2 coming up is going to have again. It's going to take third person action games to a whole different level again. Naughty Dog is just, they got that sauce that just, they add these little touches and these little tweaks that it's just like, man, I never knew I needed that in a game, or I never, I don't know. It's just, and it's hard to think about it 7 years later, like playing it again. I started it a few weeks ago and then got sidetracked. I haven't continued, but I intend to play it again, and it still is like, man, it's so good and so chilling. Of a game.
And I will say this, and I'll close my update with this. Before I played this game, before I played the first Last of Us, I was like nowhere even close to the fence of playing part 2. I am on the fence now. So
He's on the fence, not over the fence.
Oh,
I'm not over the fence because there are certain things content-wise that I'm not sure about in the game. It's my own personal conviction that, I try to avoid games that have like sex and nudity and stuff like that. That's why I don't play games like GTA or anything like that. I just try to avoid that kind of stuff. And it's on the sticker, which the first one didn't have before. It's got nudity and sexual content. So I don't know what that means. I mean, it could be like a naked runner or a clicker or something like that. You see some clicker's butt or something like that. I don't know.
I will be playing it day one, so I will keep that in mind, and I'll let you know.
I appreciate that. I've been trying to keep a lookout on the ESRB because they tend to, I assume they haven't done the more detailed description because the game isn't out yet and they don't want to give spoilers away before the game's out. But usually they have a little bit more of a detailed description of, okay, why is it rated the way that it is? So I've been kind of waiting on that. And I'll be asking around. But I'm on the fence, teetering, going over, but I'm still not sure about that yet. And I know if I tried to do it through GameFly, it would take months for me to get it because I know this has been.
This is gonna be a big one.
It's gonna be a hot game.
Yeah,
Patrick,
for sure.
Please, once you're playing it, whenever it's appropriate, please just tweet "clicker butt confirmed" on, and then tag Mark in it.
Clicker butt confirmed.
That'll be great to see. Great to know. So we get a
Mark,
heads up.
It's okay.
Trending on Twitter now.
Clicker butt.
34 minutes in, just close your eyes. You're good.
Hashtag clicker butt. Oh man. But that is it for me.
Gotcha. All right, Patrick. We're gonna save the best for last, so we'll come to Zach Auld here in a bit. So,
oh man, stupid Google.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's your fault.
Hey, you've had time to think about it.
You brought this on yourself.
It's true.
So this past week, been playing Apex and WWE, still running those both those games. Playing some Minecraft Dungeons with Clark. And speaking of Clark, this past week he graduated preschool. Yeah. He's all done with preschool. So there was usually they have a graduation where they walk down the aisle and they play music and they sing a song and all that, but they didn't do that this year because of the whole COVID-19 thing. So what they did was they had like a parade of sorts where you would drive up to the entrance of the preschool, you would get out and you could take pictures with your teacher. So that's what he did. He got out and took pictures with his teacher and the principal of the preschool. But what was cool about it is they had like all kinds of things for the kids. They had gift baskets for them, and when they had like a photo booth of sorts. One of the things that they had is they had like a 6-foot sign where Clark was standing on one side of the sign and then the teachers were standing on the other side of the sign, and the sign said 6 feet apart, forever in our heart. And it was just like really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. So he had a really good time with that. Backing up a bit, when we first got there, all the kids were like on the grass underneath the trees in the shade, and they're all running around, and nobody was honoring the 6 feet thing. You know, like with 4 and 5 year olds, no, they're not paying attention. No, they have no idea. They're like, oh, my friends I haven't seen in 3 months, I'm gonna go run over there and hang out with them. Yeah, that's what they're thinking. So yeah, we did that. It's totally fine. But then right in front of the of our preschool was a sign, and it was like, congratulations, graduates. And then we look over, and every single one of his classmates were like 2 inches from each other, huddling around, waiting for a picture. And like, oh, Clark, get in here. I'm like, well, I guess we're doing this because everyone else is in there.
You only graduate from preschool once, so you might as well get a disease from it.
Actually, this is his second year in preschool because he started preschool a little early, so he went for 2 years. So you only graduate preschool twice?
Sure, why not?
Apparently that's the rule.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
Yeah, I guess.
New standard. Thanks, Clark.
So yeah, it was cool. It was a good time. I was able to get away for work for a bit. Told my boss, I was like, hey, my kid's graduating. He's like, get out of here. Don't worry about work. So that was cool. The other thing that has happened, it didn't happen this past week. I think it happened a couple weeks ago, and I didn't bring it up. But you ever have that feeling where you feel like you made it? Like, there's times when you buy a house or you get a job or you have kids.
Yeah.
Like those kinds of like big, huge life events. We had one of those life events.
Ooh.
We got a Roomba.
Whoa!
Look out.
If the definition of lazy is a picture of a Roomba, that's what it is. So it is awesome. You still have to vacuum every once in a while, but we don't have to vacuum it anywhere near the amount of times that we have now. We just turn on this. It's connected to Alexa, so you can just say, I don't know how to say it now because it's gonna start, but you can start this Roomba and it'll just go, and then you can tell it to dock again and it'll dock, and it's like I think it lasts for maybe an hour and a half, and it just goes around and cleans up all the small crap that's on your floor. Oh, it's awesome.
You have crap on your floor?
Yeah.
Well,
Sounds like you got a problem.
We have a dog. I don't know. And a couple kids. There's always crap
Kids
somewhere.
crapping everywhere. Man. That's why I had to go to preschool twice, Clark. Come on, man. Get that crap off the floor.
Sorry, all I could think of was Happy Gilmore. You eat crap for breakfast? No.
But that's pretty much been what's been happening this past week.
Sweet. All right.
Awesome.
So, who do we got left? Looking around here.
Looks like Zachary.
Looks like
Yeah.
Tom's left.
There he is.
All right, so I started off my week actually building 2 or 3 new desktop gaming computers for a couple
Just
buddies.
3?
Just 3. Well, it technically ended up with
Light
4
week.
because I ended up redoing mine. But
left
I have
out.
a friend. Yeah, I felt left out. So I have a friend who has 2 younger kids, and they both bought all these computer parts like a year ago, and I built the computer for them. And then now they wanted to upgrade because they actually got like more money. So we ended up doing that. And then my buddy had surgery, and he had all these computer parts shipped to his house, and I was going to teach him how to do it. But now during COVID, and he had surgery, so he can't be around anybody. I ended up just like driving to his house, picking it up, and then building and taking it back.
Nice.
And and then I got home to my house. I turned on my computer, and it was like, your SSD has gone bad. And I was like,
Uh-oh.
That's a bad
So
day.
I had to rebuild mine, rip that apart, and then while I was in there, I just upgraded a few parts on it. But that's like what I did on the computer side. We also bought my son a scooter.
Ooh.
So
Nice.
Like
Electric
a
or
retro
manual?
scooter?
it's like a 3-wheel scooter, but it's like leaning. So it's like a kind of
Oh,
like
yeah.
almost like a skateboard deck
Those are
with
cool.
like a handlebar on it.
Yeah.
Like
And,
Mark, yours?
No, not at all. Like that.
Yep. Exactly what he used in college all those years ago.
Yeah.
The leaner.
So we bought him a bicycle for his birthday back in January, and he refuses to ride it. He hates it. He like looks at it and he's like, "Nah, I'll get on my trike and then mom and dad can push me."
Yeah.
So finally, I got fed up and I was like, "I'm gonna buy you a scooter and you're gonna ride it." And he like loves this thing.
Nice.
So
Hey.
How old's your son?
he is 3.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's what my son was like too.
Yeah.
So
And
I feel you.
then we couldn't keep up with him, so then I ended up buying a skateboard because I used to be a skater back in high school. So I bought myself a brand new skateboard, and I was like, I'm just gonna like use this as an excuse to buy myself a really nice skateboard. So I did, but then mom couldn't keep up, so now she has a scooter. So this like spiraled into spending a lot of money, and I wasn't expecting this whatsoever. And adult scooters are expensive.
Yeah, they are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
like
man,
I think we
What
ended up
I would
spending like
pay-
$150 on her stupid scooter.
what I would pay to see your family rolling down the street
Yeah.
in a skateboard and a trio of
Convoy.
scooters.
Yeah, I'll have to get a photo. I'll do a video of it. Yeah.
The old
I'll
caravan.
get a video of it and send it to you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
But so we did that, and then I had to buy a helmet because I haven't had like anything to ride around. My son obviously had a helmet, and I tried skateboarding without a helmet the very first day, and he freaked out because he hates his helmet. But we make sure that he wears it, and so then I got a helmet. And then my helmet's different than his, so he had to get a new helmet because then he went on a protest riot that he wasn't going to wear his
Spiraled
helmet.
out of control.
So
Make sure you
Yeah.
send all of your donations to ZacharyAuld.com
yeah, so this
to
is,
help support.
yeah, this is spiraled into this whole thing, and I'm okay with it. We're outside. We're an outside family now. We spent a lot of money like in the backyard. We got him a swing set right as COVID started because my wife's a preschool teacher, so she was like, "We're closing the schools down, which means that we're not going to go do anything if we can't go to school." So we bought like a huge play structure. We built a play structure in the backyard, and we kind of converted our backyard to like this awesome like just hangout area, which has been really cool and like a bucket list item. It just kind of pushed it forward. So that's one positive thing out of COVID. And then other than that, I've been working a bunch in my career, and I have the next 12 days off. So that's pretty
fantastic.
sweet.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you
I'm
go.
getting to
Spring
take
break.
advantage of that.
Woo!
Like, yeah, exactly. So I got a little bit of gaming in. After I got the computer back up, I started playing Red Dead Redemption 2 again. So I beat it twice on the PS4, and then I got it on the PC. And so now I've started it up on the PC again.
Oh man.
What?
Yeah.
Such a fantastic
So-
game, though.
Somebody likes
I'm kind
Red
of
Dead
like the Ed
too.
Placencia of like Red Dead Redemption 2. Like I haven't done online either yet, and now I'm like, ooh, I don't have PlayStation Plus, but I do have an internet on the computer, and I can play it on the computer online. So
There you go.
I might dip my toes in that.
There you
So
go.
we'll see.
So I actually
Yeah.
tried the online for a little bit in that game, and I did not like it as much. I
no!
I love the
Nope.
storyline, but the online is a
Yeah.
little bit different.
Okay. Well, I can always just play it solo still.
I mean,
So-
I don't know. It was one of those games where I got in and I just kept getting hunted by players that were higher level, like the whole
Yeah.
time.
Oh,
you
yeah.
like you go
Yeah,
from being the
they
hero in
have
the
new
story
settings.
to the
Yeah.
NPC of the game because
So
you
back
can't
when
do
I
anything.
played,
Exactly.
so back when I played, there was if you got killed by somebody, you could not be killed by that same person within 10 minutes. But
Yeah, but somebody else would kill you.
no, that person just followed me around and waited 10 more minutes to kill me again. And like they have like faster horses and better weapons. Like there's no getting away. They just follow you around
They're just
until they
like
kill you.
staring at you,
Yeah. Oh man.
not touching.
That reminds
not
me of like
touching.
World of Warcraft.
touching.
or
It was
something.
rough, man.
Oh man. All right. Yeah. And then I also reinstalled Elder Scrolls Online. So.
Oh my gosh,
okay.
how are you gonna have a life between Red Dead Redemption and Elder Scrolls Online?
Yeah. So I play Elder Scrolls Online a lot, like you, Ronnie. Play Ark, just like solo.
Yeah.
So it's not really that game's really not set up to play solo. But I've just been doing like story missions, like and side missions that you just randomly find. And I usually just go and grind to where I'm a high enough gear level where I can just go back and do the story. So I'm way higher than what I'm supposed to be, but also I'm able to do it by myself and at my own speed. So
Nice.
So are your favorite games typically like open world like that? Because like every game you mentioned is like a pretty open one.
Yeah, pretty much. That and Skyrim. I mean, those are like my games I usually play. So a lot of open world. So, but there's not many to pick from, especially nowadays. Like it's just like they seem to be like get released in a huge lot. Like you had Fallout. Obviously, Skyrim was way before that, but then you had Fallout 3 and you had Fallout 4. But it's like you can only play them so many times. So I'll probably beat Red Dead Redemption 2 again and then go back to Red Dead 1. So, because I still have the PS3. So,
Nice.
that was kind of my plan to do it on PS4 was just beat Red Dead Redemption 2 and then go to Red Dead Redemption. But then I got on PC and I was like, I might as well play it again. So,
Why not?
Nice.
yep. So, that's been my week in a nutshell.
Very nice. Well, thanks for sharing, man. That is fantastic to hear about what's been going on with you. Speaking of what's going on with you, Zach, you are you're our topic of the show. You and Indie Podcast. So we're just gonna roll right into that old topic and see what's going on in the land of the podcast junkie.
All right.
Indie Podcast. Let's do it.
An awesome dance, Mark.
Thanks, appreciate it.
I feel like
Good.
Lucas.
That's my transition
Fine
dance.
dancing.
I feel like Lucas totally got thrown off by having to go first.
I always get thrown off by having to go first. I'm like, oh no, I don't know how to transition. You know what? Hard stop. We're doing the topic. I'm not even trying to make up something because anytime I try to make up something off the top of my head, it's a train wreck. It's entertaining, but yeah. Zach, before we jump into, talking about Podcast Junkie and talking about indie podcasts and stuff, for those joiners and listeners that do not know who you are, can you give us a little elevator pitch, a little bit of a little short bio of who you are, how in the world you got connected with our podcast, and why you think you're here? We know why you're here, but I'd like to know why you think you're here.
Great. So first off, I learned about you guys, probably heard about all of you guys a long time ago on Married to the Games podcast, just for writing in and stuff. And then I think Gabe, at one point when you guys first started it, I think he mentioned your guys' show on
He did.
the actual Married to the Games podcast. And
Highlight
I was
of our
like,
career.
I'm going to add this to my queue to listen to. And I recognized your guys' names from that show. So then I started following you guys on Twitter individually and then started following the podcast that way. And it just kind of led to listening to your guys' show as well every week. So usually on like Friday to Saturday is when I get most of my podcast listening time in.
Nice.
So then I'll just do I kind of break it up into genres. So it's like video game podcasts, true crime, audio dramas and stuff like that. So I just kind of lump everybody all in kind of in a row and just go for it. So
Nice.
yeah. And I think I'm here to talk about indie podcasts.
Yeah. So why we have you
Question
on
mark?
here is mainly because you are like the spokesperson for indie podcasts, and you are definitely a friend of the show. You're definitely, you're a joiner on our Discord, and we're also on your monster of a Discord server.
Yeah, that
the
thing's
podcast
insane.
junkie. It is insane in the membrane, but we just love you, man, and love your community and all the podcasts that you lift up and celebrate. You are like, you're that guy in a race that always has a cup of water, that always has that kind word to say. And we just knew we had to have you on the show and just to chat, talk about podcasts, talk about life and all that.
Well, I
jazz.
appreciate
So,
it.
Yeah.
That's that's inspiring. I know that so many different indie podcast people tried to be that light in the world, and I'll just go back to the very beginning. When I started listening to podcasts was 2013, right after my mom had died, and I didn't really know what else to do with my time because I spent a lot of my time taking care of my mom in her last 2 years, And so I had a buddy that was like, hey, let's start a podcast. And I was like, oh, I've heard of these, but I haven't had any time to listen. So we started a video game podcast. And that's kind of when I was like, what the heck is a podcast? So I had to like start listening to them. So I started listening to like Giant Bomb. And then from Giant Bomb, I think I just typed in like video game podcast or something, and Married to the Games popped up. And I was like, oh, this is like more than just a thing that you listen to. It's a community. Yeah. And then from that point on, I've just kind of like gravitated towards shows that kind of have that same perspective of trying to uplift people. And then when I actually started podcasting, we actually started taking it seriously. That's kind of what I've been trying to do as well, is kind of try to imitate what I've seen happen in the past and what's been really beneficial to me throughout my life, in personal life and in podcasting, and just kind of breathe it back out into the community again and just continue to lift people up. So it's nice to hear that you guys like find benefit in it, because it's not very often that you get to talk to people that benefit from something that you're doing and are right there alongside of you and doing the same thing. So it's cool. Yeah, that's kind of how I got into podcasting. I've been the host of 4 shows now. So my very first podcast host and he was out of Georgia, and he just started working a lot, so it didn't work out. And I met a guy in Trinidad and Tobago.
Wow.
That did a video game podcast. So he and
I... Just right down the street from you.
Yeah, just right down the street. Yeah, different time zone, but right down the street. It's like crossing a bridge.
Yep.
Hey, you do a podcast? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We're podcasting neighbors.
So I joined his podcast for a while, and then me and a buddy here locally started another podcast that we ran on his website. And that podcast led me to being able to go to like PAX West. So I've been to like 7 PAX West now as press. Nice. And got to meet like tons of video game developers and indie developers and just like hang out with them and get to know them as people. So that's been really cool. And then more recently, we shut down all those podcasts and I started doing Cast Junkie, which is the one that you guys are talking about, and started the Discord community there. And it's been through several iterations. I first started it as Podcast Junkie because I Googled it really quick. Nobody had it. And then like a year and a half into it, somebody was like, do you realize that there's this guy that owns a business called Podcast Junkies with an S at the end of it? And I was like, no, what is that? So I looked into it and I ended up just rebranding. I had the handle for Cast Junkie since the get-go, and I have the website. So I just kind of rebranded over to Cast Junkie and just dropped everything else off. And it's been good. We have the Discord community of like 2,000 people of like creators
just a few
listeners. Just a few.
It's insane.
So it's been a lot of fun. I think we're just hit a year on Discord like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So
nice.
And it's been a lot of fun. We get to meet people like you. There's other like indie creators out there that I've got to meet. I've been in Seattle twice now and like had podcast meetups just randomly. People will be like, hey, let's get together for lunch or drinks or dinner or whatever. And like 7 people will just randomly show up. And I'm like, this is really cool. Just like how you can just go anywhere and just meet up with people.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's
cool.
kind of what I've been doing on for my podcast history. So,
very cool.
So how do you handle 2,000 people on one Discord?
I don't. I have a community of people.
You have an army of moderators.
Yeah. I have an army of moderators. I think we're up to like 12 moderators now, but really there's like a core team of 4 of us. And so it's like Ruckland in Discord. He's been there basically since like month 3 of Discord. And he's kind of like my right-hand man. And then we also have Corey and Nikki, who have been there for probably about like 8 months now. And they've been like community members longer. And you guys had Corey on 2 weeks ago.
Yep,
we did.
3 weeks ago. And so he's been there for like 6-7 months now. And they've just kind of taken the initiative and just kind of started doing their own thing. And I was like, you know what? Let's put a title on it. And so now they're on the official like Cast Junkie Discord team. And they kind of just handle, like, Corey has a group of moderators that are all his own, that he's, like, handpicked throughout the community, that handle, like, the general public, so just, like, podcast listeners. And then Nikki, as a creator, has access to the creator channels, which you guys do. And so she has a core team of creator curators that basically just go through and make sure that everybody's playing nicely. And which is weird to say, because, like, you don't really run into a lot of issues, but every once in a while people get heated and it needs to be handled. So then she kind of just goes about handling those situations.
Got any turf war stories? You can change people's names if you want. Just curious.
There's a couple. Yeah. There's definitely been some instances throughout, like, the starting of it where people will join the Discord and they'll be super engaging and involved, and then all of a sudden, like, in the middle of the night, they'll, like, try sniping people by dropping, like, their own Discord links in there and basically bad mouthing our area and just being like, we're doing it better over here, and we're like,
oh yeah,
that's messed up.
what's this all about? Yeah, that not only is it messed up, but I thought you were, like, super cool and, like, we were fine. But honestly, we haven't had a bunch of issues. A lot of the issues we've had come up with political issues, which in today's world is rampant right now.
Yeah.
So, and nobody follows, like, in the exact same spot of the timeline or, the political line. So people could be, like, super far left or super far right or right next to each other and still not agree. And I think the one thing that I will say is, like, our community has been, or has shown, that it doesn't really matter where you fall, that we're all humans. And it's been really uplifting to watch, like, conversations that we've seen, like, going one direction on Discord. Like, we're in our private admin chat and we're like, this is going to go sideways real quick. And then all of a sudden somebody will just, like, say, like, one right thing and completely change course. And the community just kind of rallies around that person and uplifts them, which is really nice to see, because I don't know many places on the internet where that happens.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's the mark of
So-
Oh, go ahead.
nope, you're the only one. It's Mark.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I cut somebody off. But anyway.
No.
Yeah, I mean, that's the mark of a true, mature community.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that, it doesn't get so heated to where, like, emotions are just out of control and just really toxic.
Yeah.
Like, you spend 1 hour on Twitter and it's like, I have to, like, if it weren't for the fact that we have this podcast and I have my own personal Twitter account and it sort of points to, a lot of times, the Good Morning Guys account, if it hadn't been for that type of stuff, I probably would have quit Twitter a long time ago. Just because the comments and stuff and everything is, like, so just toxic and negative. And it's beautiful to see places like Cast Junkie and, the Married to the Games Discord and their community and our community. Like, we have mature people that don't just go off the rails all the time. They can handle things. I mean, yeah, you might have a heated exchange every so often. But for the most part, people, like, they keep cool. Cooler heads prevail.
Yeah.
And people try to be as positive as possible, realistic but positive. And I just think I think we need more of that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I agree 100%.
Now, Zach.
So yeah,
Oh no.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you had mentioned before that your first podcast was Giant Bomb.
That I listened to, yeah.
Yeah, and that, like, I have a feeling that, like, set you up for the ability to listen to a lot of podcasting, because hasn't Giant Bomb always been like a 3-hour podcast?
Yeah.
3 to 4 hours? I remember I tried to listen to it once and I was like, 3 hours? I can't do 3 hours.
Yeah, so like 2 hours is, like, on their short spectrum. And the weird thing is, like, when I first jumped into Giant Bomb, the very first episode, it was a new release. It just came out that day, and it was I don't know if you guys know much of Giant Bomb's history or whatever, but it was actually started by Ryan Davis and Jeff Gersman.
Yeah.
And so Ryan Davis passed away.
Yeah.
And so that was the very first episode that I had listened to, and just listening to them get emotional about his passing and his family, and, like, reminiscing on, like, the history that they had growing up as teenagers and stuff together, is kind of what, like, sealed podcasting for me over anything else, was because, like, they were making connections together, and I was like, I want this.
Yeah.
So then I started making connections, with other podcasters slowly and stuff like that. And it was, yeah. It also, like you said, set me up for being able to listen to a ton of podcasts because I would just binge that for 12 hours a day. And it was like, I'd only get through like 4 episodes, 5 episodes maybe.
Yeah.
But now I can get through like 20, 30, 40 episodes because some shows are only like 20 minutes long and some of them are an hour long.
Yeah.
And so,
Now, how many podcasts would you say you listen to regularly at this point?
I have like over 500 I'm subscribed to.
Gracious.
But some of them could be closed out. Like a handful of them, I know for a fact are closed out right off the top of my head. Like they're not coming back.
You just
so,
keep them there for nostalgia
realistically,
purposes.
Yeah, if I ever want to go back or something like that. Yeah. And I think like probably 275 of them are still going, and I try to stay current on all of them. So
wow, you are truly the podcast junkie. You have earned
yeah,
that.
so there's a lot of podcasts. I think last time I checked on my one app, it said like I'd been listening for like 175 days straight. So
wow,
and that's just on one of my apps. I have a couple of different podcast apps I use, mainly Pocket Casts, but sometimes I can't find their shows. And if you can't find the RSS feed, you can't add it to Pocket Cast, so you got to go elsewhere to find them. So,
all right,
but yeah,
interesting. So just a few. Now, do you listen at 1.5 or 2 times the speed, or do you listen at normal speed?
normal speed.
Wow. All right.
That's a true podcaster right there.
Yeah.
I've tried to listen to 1.5 or 2 times speed.
I can't do it.
And it ruins the whole, like, I don't know, chemistry of it all sometimes because
I can't do it.
Sometimes there's some pauses that are needed, but sometimes you're like, wow, 2 times speed. Like my parents, they're like, I like your podcast, but you guys talk too fast. And I'm like, what are you talking
What do you mean
about?
we talk too fast?
So I was over there. There was like during Christmas. And,
Did you slow it down for them?
and they were at
Put it at half
1.5 speed. And I was like, that's why you need to have it at 1 time speed. They're like, and they must have clicked it and just still, and they still listened. They still listened and they still liked it.
What are you talking about? We talk about like this all the time. This is how we do our podcast.
That's awesome.
It's funny, but yeah, when I hear people who listen to it, like there are people who listen to it 1.5 times speed because they listen to a lot of podcasts, and
that's me.
They want they want to be able to absorb all that and get to listen to multiple podcasts because they don't have the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The podcast.
Yeah, when I hear a podcast at
yeah.
1 speed, that after I've been listening at 1.5 the speed for the past at least 2 years probably. And when I go to 1 speed, it's like, all right, get to the point here. Let's go. Get the ball rolling.
I've got another podcast lined up. Hurry it up.
The next time you have 4 hours, listen to our podcast at half speed.
Oh,
yeah, I was going to say, I like to live on the edge.
Listening to our
Listen to
listening to
everything
the
at half
intro.
Yeah,
Good morning, my brother and sister. On this. It's like, oh my
Sounds
God.
like we're all
See what
drunk as all get out.
yeah. Go ahead, just hit negative like 1.5 speed on a Giant Bomb episode and just spend a day and a half listening to it.
Yeah, exactly.
See you in about 9 hours.
Intros are 1 hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what other questions you got?
So you said you listened to about 275 current podcasts, right?
Correct.
So one of the guys on your Discord, Derek from Rolling Misadventures,
Yeah.
he says, what podcast genres does Zach not enjoy?
Ooh.
Politics.
Hey, there you go.
Hey-o.
I refuse. There's like Freakonomics every once in a while. I mean, it's a pretty political show. But every once in a while I'll listen if they have like an interesting like episode title. Because it's more like economics based, which really ties into politics in a lot of ways because your economics and politics kind of are hand in hand together in majority businesses. And then there's another one that my friend sent me, and I can't remember the name of it was, but it was an extremely political show, but it had a true crime episode, and it was like all about like John F. Kennedy. So I went back and I listened to that one, and it was like all about his presidency and then through his murder. So I've listened to that one, but again, like I don't actively subscribe or listen to any political podcast shows. So podcasting is an outlet for me to get away from that type of stuff and to just like enjoy.
Yep.
So I would rather not muddle the waters with listening to political podcasts. I mean, there's people out there I know for a fact that love political podcasts, but it's just not my thing.
Nice. So there's, again, you listen to a lot of podcasts. Are there certain podcasts that you look forward to, like each and every week or each and every month, however long or however frequent those podcasts are?
So your guys's is one of them, and Married to the Games are always a must listen to me for every week. Those are like, if like I'm having a rough week at work and like I can only get through a certain amount of shows, or like I know I'm only going to have like 2 or 3 hours to listen, they'll go to the top of the queue. Also, Southern Gothic is a new one I just started. They actually like approached me on Twitter a few weeks ago, and I've been trying to binge through all of their episodes. And so that's like all like Southern history, like ghost history, hauntings and stuff like that. I'm going to pull up my podcast thing and see what I have in my queue right now.
That sounds like...
Married to the Games is still in my queue right now.
That Southern Gothic sounds like Ronnie, something up Ronnie's alley. He likes the ghost.
I'd be totally down for that. There's nothing better than
treasure
like
hunting.
Ghost stories and stuff like that. I always love those podcasts.
So another one that I love that's on hiatus right now is Lit Dark Podcast. It's Laughing in the Dark Podcast. And she was out of Oregon, like out of Portland, Oregon, right across the bridge. But I think she just moved to California, and that's the reason why she hasn't been doing it. But she goes to haunted locations, and she tells the story of them. And that one's really cool because she's traveled like all across the U.S. And so that was another must listen. Another one of mine is Someone Knows Something, or Somebody Knows Something. Or no, it's Someone Knows Something. I always say somebody, but it's someone. It's out of Canada. It's actually done by CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcasting. I can't remember what the other C stands for.
Yeah.
Corporation. There you go. Right. And he does a really good job at covering like murders that have been unsolved. So, and they're not always Canadian. Some of them, he's like on his 6th season, and the 6th season is in Canada. But I want to say like the 3rd season was of a African American soldier who went overseas, and his brother was killed by the Ku Klux Klan. And so when his brother came back from war, it was like his brother trying to track it down, and just nobody listened to him. So, and Somebody Knows Something, they basically lend their financial money to help him address his brother's murder and try to figure out actually what happened for him and for his mom before his mom dies. And so they get really close, and I think something is still in the works through their journalistic like endeavor in it, but it's still not a closed case yet. But yeah, they just like, I don't know, that's like a really good like journalistic podcast I really like. And there's obviously like, if you like D&D, I listen to Top of the Round, so I've just binged through all of theirs, and that's a really good like actual play podcast I've been listening to. And then there's other ones like Ninth World Journal. They're an audio drama, and it's based in like a like actual play world, but he's wrote the script and the characters all himself. And
That's cool.
Until this season, it was all voice acted by David. But now he's actually having other voice actors, which has really like opened the world up even more. So that's been really fun.
Yeah.
And then Oz 9 is a sci-fi audio drama that I've been listening to that's a must listen. So there's like, for me, like there's a bunch of must listens just because I have to fill my time. So whenever I don't have like a must listen podcast, I just kind of either like let it go, or I find a new podcast to fill it. Because I have so much time, like I just want to be able to binge them and know that they're going to be quality shows or something that I enjoy.
Nice.
So not that I won't stay subscribed to some of the other shows that like are lower down on my list, but they're not something I'm going to actively go out and look for.
Gotcha. I remember when, I think it was maybe 2011, maybe around there. That's when pretty much when Ronnie and I started getting together and hanging out, and we started listening to that one of the indie podcasts, We're Alive.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That was the first, because that's pretty much almost when I started listening to podcasts. I was listening to like IGN's podcast and more video game podcasts at that point. And then I don't know how I found We're Alive, but I told Ronnie, I was like, you need to listen to this. And speaking of binging, like that was a show that would come out like on a weekly basis. And it's the only, like, I guess, quote unquote audio drama. I don't know what kind of podcast genre it is. But
it's an audio drama.
Yeah, it's with the voice acting and the it just feels like you're listening to a show without seeing the visuals, which is kind of like reading a book and having those images in your head.
Yeah.
So
it was almost like listening to anime, I felt like.
It was
so
cool,
if you like We're Alive, you should also check out Leviathan, because it came out about the same exact time, and it actually is just being finished now. He took he's like end of season 5. His wife had brain cancer, and so it's taken him till now. I think it's been 6 years since he released an episode, but he just made it his goal in the remembrance of his wife to do the final season 6. And I just paid for the director's cut of it, and it's amazing. So I've gone back through and re-binged the entire series.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
And We're Alive, I've spoke with Casey from We're Alive a lot, and that's another show that I've binged at least 4 or 5 times.
That's so good.
Yeah, once you get wrapped up,
it's a really
even,
good one.
You just have to listen.
Even from the beginning when he's like, "We're alive." I'm in.
Yeah.
Right
Yep.
away.
Yeah, that's a really good show.
It is.
That is one area where I have not ventured much, and honestly, Zach, you're the only reason that I know anything about audio dramas, because listening to your show, you give the little tidbits about the different podcasts, and I kind of like that idea of just kind of expanding my horizons. And I will say that for me, since I live at home all the time now, especially during the quarantine, my podcasting time has gone way down. Like I used to do it for commutes or at work, depending on what I was doing, I would just have more time to podcast. Now it's when I'm washing dishes, when I'm just like doing some laundry or random stuff around the house.
It just, you just can't find the time for it now at home.
But
I
do appreciate it.
That's how it was with me. Before I started working the 9-to-5 job that I have now. I was a janitor. I was a custodian. And so, a lot of times you're keeping to yourself while you're doing your work, while you're cleaning or whatever. And so they allow you to have your, music on or whatever. And so that was the time that I was able to really explore and find different podcasts depending upon my interests. Like I was big, of course I'm big into Married to the Games still. I still keep up with that now, even after I've changed jobs, but I'm a big Batman fan, so there's a podcast called Holy Batcast that I used to listen to all the time. I'd listen to some of the NPR shows like This American Life and things like that. Unfortunately, I just changed the scenery. I haven't been able to keep up as much, but there is still, obviously Married to the Games has become more of that community thing. They're more like my family now. Yeah. To where that's how I keep up with my family. And so those have still stuck with me. And there are times where I can listen to podcasts like, I'm a valet driver basically. So I'm in a vehicle sometimes. So I can listen to podcasts, but unfortunately things have changed for me.
I feel a lot of people during this crisis have found that, and I know that a lot of people's numbers have dropped. But it's kind of weird because there's some people that never listened to podcasts before that are now finding that they have time to listen to podcasts. And it's it's weird because people that used to listen are now finding they don't have time, but the people that never listened are now finding that they do have time. So it's kind of an interesting trade-off. I think we've kind of balanced out now since everybody's been on lockdown for so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely during the first spike of lockdown, I think basically everybody's numbers went to 0 for downloads.
Yep.
So yeah, I know I found that I didn't have time for it, and I just wasn't in the right headspace to really even care, to be honest.
Right.
Listening to your guys's and Married to the Games, and then 2 or 3 others that I had that I know the people that created them. I'll listen to them. But like I just didn't have the energy to dedicate like listening to new shows and like trying to write the reviews for them or anything like that. So,
Gotcha.
but yeah.
So going back to what Lucas said is you pretty much review podcasts. So
yeah,
you've done how many? You've done a couple hundred. I don't know how many you've done.
I know I wrote a couple hundred. I think I have like 60 some episodes out right now. Like right when the
Okay.
Corona,
I was way off.
yeah. Well, it should be a lot
like
more.
it.
Less
Yeah.
1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be a lot more than what it is. Right when Corona happened, I also got into a new career field, and I wasn't able to listen or really spend time with family. And since my wife was at home taking care of the kid on my days off, I just felt like I just couldn't dedicate time to sitting down in front of the computer for a couple hours and doing this. But now as like I've gotten longer into my career field, now I'm actually getting like 4 days on, 4 days off, and like getting a routine, I can start dedicating more time to it. So in reality, like I've only put out like I think like 50 some or maybe 60 some episodes of Cast Junkie, but I've also done a bunch of other, like Twitter things and stuff like that have been more prevalent recently than the podcast. So like I just got go ahead.
I was just gonna say what process do you have in going about reviewing a podcast? Like, how do you choose one? And you said you've written, a couple hundred of them.
Yeah.
How do you choose which one you put out and what's next?
So usually, that's kind of funny. I just kind of go in the blind. So I have a list, like a Google Doc list that is linked to my website, and people can add their podcast for a review, and it just gets added to this like Excel spreadsheet. And then I just kind of add them to my podcast queue and listen to, like, depending on how many episodes they have, I listen to at least like 5 hours worth if they have enough to cover 5 hours worth. And then I will usually try to do like a couple, like an hour worth of their new, like most recent episodes kind of in the middle and then towards the very start of their show.
Oh, yeah.
But if it's a really long really long podcast, I'll usually just do their most recent because let's be honest, like everybody's quality goes up as the longer you do it.
Yeah.
So I usually just listen to like the most recent is where I usually try to focus my reviews, and I kind of have a structure outline already built up in Google Docs, and I'll just sit here and just like listen to like the most recent episode and fill out the information in the Google Docs, and then that's what I record just line for line. And as for like releasing, I don't really have any rhyme or reason to who gets released or when they get released. Other than there's a tier on my Patreon that dictates that. It's basically like you choose a podcast for me to review, and I get it out the following week or as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I try not to do the same genre repeated in a week, so like no two audio genres in a row or two history or whatever. Sometimes that doesn't work out because sometimes I'm just in an audio drama like mood, and that's all I'm choosing to review, so then it might get lined up for like 3 weeks in a row. But I try to break it up, so like if you find that you don't really care for audio genre or audio drama genre, then you won't get the same show style pitched to you 2 weeks in a row.
Sure.
But sometimes that's just not feasible. Sometimes that's all I've been listening to, or sometimes that's, that's what came out this week. So that's what I listened to this week, and that's what I wrote my reviews off of. And then other weeks, sometimes it's history heavy. I know I did one where it was like 3 weeks in a row was just all true crime. And people were like, hey, I like true crime, but also I would like something else. So that's kind of when I started trying to spice it up and throw in different genres in a row. But there's really no rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of whatever fancies my taste at that week or that time. And what I can get done, what I'm happy with. Like sometimes I'll listen back to the episode and be like, oh, this episode like really sucked. Like I gotta like can it, start over again. And then that leaves me, with only like two edited episodes or one edited episode. And I'm like, well, I guess this is what's going out this week. So, but yeah, that's kind of the nice thing is I can, like when I first started Cast Junkie, I had 27 weeks worth of podcasts done.
Wow. Okay.
And
Give you a
I could just
nice
kind of
cushion.
pick and choose how it was delved out. But then that's like week 25 is like when I started my new job, and I was like, this is gonna be bad.
Yeah.
I don't have time for doing this. So that's kind of where we ran into. Like, I went in my reserves, and I have like nothing recorded now. But hopefully over the next like 12 days off, I'll fix that and get it all straightened out.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go to more of like a monthly thing, and just kind of try to hold myself to a monthly schedule. That's been my one crutch in podcasting, is like staying consistent.
Yeah.
Sure.
I stayed consistent for like 300 episodes on my video game podcast. And then it was just like, this is a real grind. Like, after 300 episodes, what do we do? And like, what makes us different than everybody
Right.
else? And that's when my co-host was like, hey, why don't you focus on Cast Junkie? He's like, I need a break from podcasting.
Yeah.
So,
I gotcha.
we kind of called it quits there. But, I'm also working on making a new podcast as well. And so it's
Ooh.
like
Oh.
an ever-evolving thing. And it's kind of like a COVID-19 like related podcast in a way. Like, it's just like, so I'm not gonna spoil too much about it or like hype it all that much, but it's like, it's me and my old co-host again back together, and like
Cool.
trying to work through some of the things that separates a show from another show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah, so that's
cool.
another reason why I think Cast Junkie is going to be like a monthly show, is because I'll be already doing another show. So, and 2 podcasts a month it's a lot. Like, writing an episode for Cast Junkie takes a lot of time.
Sure.
And then usually I'll record it and I'll edit it and I'll listen to it and I'll be like, this is complete garbage, and I'll have to throw it all the way, throw it away again.
That stinks.
So it's like, I'm just like, not like, every time I do an episode, I'm like, what are the creators gonna think? And like, I've only done it one time where a creator came back and they weren't happy with it, and I was like, I mean, I see why you weren't happy, but like, also they're valid points like on why your show needed to change, and he didn't like it, and I was like,
yeah.
all right. So now, like, after having that back and forth, like every time I release one, I'm like, what's the creator gonna say? So I kind of try to take like devil's advocate before I release, and it has ended up in me redoing my episodes a lot. So I usually give myself 2 chances, and if the second one isn't good, then I just pick the lesser of 2 evils and put one out. Because writing a review for a podcast, surprisingly, is difficult, because you can only say like the audio is good so many times before it starts to lose its value.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as like video game journalism.
Yeah.
Like, how do you twist the same thing that you're saying for this audio drama to this audio drama? Because it's both the same thing, but like, you don't want to sound redundant, so you're trying to find new words
Right.
and new ways to spin it. And I think that's where, when I first started doing video game stuff and I started doing a video game podcast, I was also doing written video game reviews. So I've been able to lend that like written aspect of it into my podcast reviews now. Like, I'm twisting words and just kind of more emphasization on, I don't know, like the pitch or the audio tone, or like for audio dramas, like the background noise. Like, does it have footsteps? Does it have like door opening, like creaking? Does it not creak? Does the floors creak? Things like that.
Yeah.
Kind of things that you just kind of pick up on like in video games, but like translating it now to the audio sphere. And I think that is also one of the biggest challenges also, is because so many people are doing that now. And like, it's required like in an audio drama to make you feel like We're Alive made you guys feel when it first came out. Like, if you don't make the person feel like they're living inside this world, like,
Right.
are you really doing it justice? And I don't know. It's a whole different bag of worms getting into like different genres. Like, the history genre needs to be very compelling in like the voice
Right.
telling the story.
Yeah, you don't want to
Yeah.
feel like they're just reading a textbook. Like, and then in
Exactly.
1867,
And exactly. And I feel like true crime is going down the same path. There's can only be so many different ways to tell the same true crime story. So, it gets harder to review them when you start reviewing more and more of
Right.
them, because you start to get a lot of the same personalities in different shows.
yeah,
And it's like, how do you,
Yeah.
I don't
How
know.
do you
It's a whole
separate
bag
yourself?
of worms. I'm still trying to, yeah. And that's a whole for reviewing them. How do you make it sound like you're not comparing them to somebody else? Because they are their own person, and they take pride in what they do. So that's been a whole different thing for me. And like, I guess trying to take a break from it, and now I'm starting to write new reviews. And I've tossed out a lot of reviews that I've already wrote just because rereading over them, I'm like, it makes it sound like I'm talking about a completely different show, even though I'm not. So, I think that's kind of the next step for me, is trying to differentiate my reviews and making sure that, like, hopefully, like with a month format, that I'm not reviewing them so quickly that I don't run back into this same area again, where like, I feel like my last couple of reviews kind of stood out for themselves, but also like, if you go back to some of my early reviews, like it's kind of repeated pattern again, but I don't know. So
nice.
Well, that makes sense.
PRRP, which is Podcast Reviews Podcasts.
Yeah.
Which I have a question on what that means. But that's my question. But PRRP's question says, Zach, what's the best review you've ever left a podcast? So on the heels of that, you know, like what was the most fun you've had writing a podcast review?
The most fun I've had writing one probably was for We're Alive. And that's because I was actually talking to Casey as I was writing the review for it. And in the process of writing the review, my podcast review of his podcast, I basically made plans to chat with him a few shows ago when We're Alive, I think it was like season 3 or something came out. I interviewed him for my podcast, which had nothing to do with podcast reviews, and it was the most random thing ever. We literally just took a interview with me and Casey Wayland and plopped in the middle of a video game podcast, and that was like my week update. And it made no sense whatsoever. And then I interviewed him again right before that podcast closed for the We're Alive Gold Rush, or no, We're Alive. It wasn't Gold Rush. It was the one where they did inside the prison break, or I can't remember what the heck the name of that series was called. But I interviewed him for his Kickstarter because we did a Kickstarter segment. So then it made a little bit more sense. And then when I started Cast Junkie and I wanted to do his review for the We're Alive series, the base series, basically is right around the time the Gold Rush came out. And so we made plans to do a interview for Cast Junkie, which I still haven't done yet, but it's in the works. Hopefully we can get it done this coming week. Our schedules just haven't matched up. But that was the most fun I've had, writing a review of a podcast to record and send out. Just because, like you guys, it kind of hit me in the feels. I just loved We're Alive so much, and I binged it so many times. It was kind of like the pinnacle of audio dramas for me. And dare I say still is. The most fun writing a like iTunes review I've had is probably for Married to the Games. And that was like my very first iTunes review ever. I like created an iTunes account just for it. And it was like this like long-winded thing about like how their community has been so like amazing. And then I deleted it because I realized I didn't talk anything about the podcast. I talked only about their community. So I think if you go and find it now, like it's just like this really dumbed down, like great podcast, great host. And I think I've updated it since Kyle Hall left. So I think now it's updated to the 4 of them.
Right. Yeah.
So
when Chris Hall left.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait. What?
Tim Hall.
Tim
what
Hall.
am I saying?
Whatever.
I don't know.
Kyle Hall.
Who the hell is Kyle Hall? It's been so long since I've heard his voice
podcast
and hear him talk about Bojangles. I forgot his name. I knew it was a Hall.
Jeez. Oh,
Kyle
man.
and Chris
I knew it was
Tim.
Hall.
All
Kyle,
3.
Chris, Tim. We'll
That's
get
his
there
full
eventually.
name.
Jacob Jingle.
Kyle, Chris, Tim Hall.
Yeah. So, and then to answer your question about PRRP, I don't know what his show is anymore either. He used to review the reviews of his podcast, but then a few weeks ago, my podcast feed got filled up with all these like weird like alien symbols, and I don't know what happened. I think he got abducted, and like now it's a new show.
Cool.
Wait, hold on. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Wait, you said he reviews his own reviews?
Yeah.
What kind of loop is that?
That hurts my head.
So
Hey, that doubles up your content right there.
That's
You
funny.
review it,
Exactly.
then you review.
yeah.
Nice. Now, Zach, do you have I don't know if you want to say you have a preference, or I'm really interested to hear your like comparison and contrast, because you've done a lot of both, but between podcasting alone and podcasting with others, the conversation versus the almost a planned script like you do with Cast Junkie.
Yeah, I think it has to be very intentional. So I think you need to have, like, for a single narrative, like single person, you need to have a defined outline of what your show is for and like what the purpose it's going to serve. So I think it's very limited in who can do it. Like, reviewing podcasts is almost like borderline, like, I should probably have a host, but I'm also trying to keep my reviews bite size and usually under 10 minutes. So adding a second voice to it, you can't keep it under 10 minutes. You know, I think for any widespread genre like video games, audio dramas, history, things like that, like, you kind of have to have multiple voices, whether they're recurring guests or not. So like for historical, like, you could be interviewing somebody at like a museum, like a historian, reenactor, like, or, you know, just like a person at a museum, or like, I'm trying to think of like the Civil War reenactors. Like, you could interview them for a show and then move on to like a different history topic and then interview somebody that's knowledgeable in that area. But I kind of feel like it lends itself. There's a true crime podcast called Sword and Scale, that it's done by Marc Boucher, and it's him only, but he cuts in with like specialists, or he'll cut like news stories in. So it's not only him talking the whole entire time. He also has other voices, telling the story alongside of him, if that makes sense. I don't really think that there's many shows that can do one voice consistently over a half-hour show and keep it interesting. It's very hard. And that's the reason why I've chosen to do, like, I think my longest is like 12 minutes, just because, and even with that, like, I have a trailer in there that's like your trailer, like, from your guys' show. I literally just went in and like cut out a 3-minute segment of your guys' show and like plopped in the middle of my episode. So it's not just me talking the entire time. I still have like a breakup in there somewhere. I think that I think for the life of the show, if you're going to do a show for a long period of time, you need to have multiple people, because bouncing ideas off of each other, or even just inside jokes like you guys do, makes the show more enjoyable to the listener and keeps them engaged for longer and keeps them coming back week after week. Whereas, like, I can't really make an inside joke with myself and then laugh at it, and then people are going to be like, this guy is a little bit crazy. We're not going to listen again.
Craziness can keep people coming. Keep them joining.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. So, I hope that answers that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Yeah.
I have one quick question. So,
Yes.
Pie in the sky, who would, if you could have a conversation with a podcast group that or person, I guess individual, that you haven't been able to talk to or review
So
whatever.
far?
Yeah. Who would you reach out for?
I've already talked to him once before in person, but it was nothing to do with podcasting. I would love to sit down with the Giant Bomb crew and just like pick their brain. I know they're not like super indie, or I mean, they're not indie at all. But just their history is amazing to me. Like, they literally just started in high school, and they kind of like forced themselves into the industry in high school, and like just the way that they were able to get into the video game industry and build this like monolith of podcasting and make this a career is super interesting. So it's something I'd want to sit down and interview them about. I know they've talked about it a few other times, like here and there, and they kind of bring up like little stories, but I think like a podcast series on them would be incredible.
Awesome.
So
I dig it.
Sweet. All right, guys. Well, any last questions for Zachary Auld? Or
Yep,
comments?
I have a serious one actually.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh,
you
dear
do.
God.
No, don't. You don't. You don't have to worry about being serious.
I gotta go, guys. It just got serious up in here.
It's either going to start or end with. So get ready.
So, living near the Pacific Northwest, how many Bigfoot hunts have you been on? And have you ever seen them?
Oh man, I'm ashamed to say I haven't been on any yet.
Big old goose egg.
But that's something that you guys should come down and we'll go do.
I'm in on the Bigfoot hunt. Except I'm afraid of
Let's
every
do it.
bug. That's gonna be an issue.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. We'll just camp. We'll just bring sleeping bags. We'll let mosquitoes eat us and spiders. But we're gonna get a Bigfoot one way or the
and
other.
I'm out.
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
I really just want to
come
meet
on.
him. Catch and release
I don't
style.
know. I just got that stimulus check, so let's
Yeah.
go, Ronnie.
See,
All right,
let's
fine.
do this.
Flights are
All
cheap
right,
right
I got
now.
an extra
Flights
room,
are
guys.
cheap.
We gotta do
Road
this.
trip.
Yeah.
We can go up. We go to the
All-
Bigfoot Cafe.
All I ask for is a scooter.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
I thought you were gonna say
Scooter.
We'll
fireball.
scooter around the woods.
Oh, jeez. No, he's not allowed to have fireball while hunting
not
for
both
Bigfoot.
of them at the same time.
Or while searching
Not
for
crazy.
Bigfoot.
Well, you're in luck, Pat, because I happen to have like 15 or 20 Razor scooters that I can.
Oh
Ooh.
yeah,
We can start a gang.
You can rent to me.
Yeah.
we can do a razor expedition of Bigfoot.
I can
That's a
see us
podcast
now.
in the making, right
Sounds
there.
like a podcast.
Yeah,
right there.
Scooting with Bigfoot.
There is a podcast that's hosted by the Mothman,
Interesting.
Like the actual
and the Bigfoot's in there.
Mothman. Wow.
Yeah, and Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call him, Yeti, is in there.
Google it.
We could also go and do like the DB Cooper.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all
Trail.
about that life.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
I don't
See,
know what that means.
find us some money.
have a better
What?
stimulus.
Is that like One-Eyed Willie? Like
No.
treasure in a cave?
DB Cooper, man.
No,
Zach, you need to school him
Yeah.
on this.
David Copperfield? the
DB
magician?
Cooper like stole an airplane loaded with money and jumped out the back of it into the night and was
the
never
woods,
seen
they never
again.
found him. Have you ever seen
Yeah,
that movie Without a
his
Paddle?
money.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of
that's
Oh,
right
okay.
there.
Cooper. That was actually
Oh,
a
really?
true story.
Yeah.
of DB
Oh,
Cooper.
yeah.
Yeah. But they,
Yeah. But they, yeah.
Some embellishments.
yeah, a little bit of
I remember
embellishment.
that being
They
like a
clearly found
comedy,
him.
so.
I mean, it's kind of comical to think that somebody can jump out of the back of an airplane and then just never be seen again.
I mean, depending on how soft the dirt was when he landed, he could go pretty deep down. And
That's the sound of him jumping out of the plane.
Yep, literally sounds like that.
Yeah.
that's what it always sounds like to me.
Oh, falling quickly.
I remember when I had a bunk bed and I fell out of it.
Head rush.
Just like that. I was like, poof, floor.
So, yeah, we could do that. We could get a GMG guys convention going on down
GMG
here.
Con.
GMG Con in Seattle.
Sounds
No?
good.
No.
No,
Okay.
GMG Con just rolls
Right
off
in the heart
tongue.
of COVID.
Right in the heart of COVID. You really know how to sell something
Come
right
for the
there,
community.
Zachary Auld.
Leave with the
GMG
COVID.
COVID Con. Let's go.
Let's go
GMG COVID 2020.
take COVID to Bigfoot. Kill
Yeah.
the last one.
There you go.
Wouldn't that be great?
World's best hide and seek champion just died of
Yep.
COVID.
Poor guy.
All right. Well, I guess I'm not gonna be selling any tickets to that
Nope.
this year.
We just ruined that one. It was over before it started.
All right.
All right, well, that is all for this fantastic conversation with the Renaissance man of podcasting, Cast Junkie himself, Zachary Auld. Thank you so much for joining us, good friend.
Yeah. Thank you for having
You
me.
joiners out there, thank you for connecting with us. If you'd like to go beyond listening, remember to check us out on Twitter at the GMG Podcast or Discord All those links are in the show notes and such, and on Twitter. If you're more old school and not much for social media, then you can email us at thegoodmorningguys@gmail.com. You can also practice your radio voice and call us at 929-GMG-GUIDES. Leave a message, ask a question, and let your voice be heard. But what we also want you to hear, of course, is the GMG Music playlist found on Spotify and Apple Music that Mark is going to divulge some music, and maybe even a Mr. Zachary Auld is going to share a song or two.
Maybe. No, he definitely is.
So
Also,
no
you
choice.
gotta go buy a T-shirt, guys. You guys gotta go buy a GMG T-shirt.
Yeah,
See?
can't you
Oh, I
see it
didn't
right
even
there?
notice he was rocking the shirt.
Yeah,
See?
he was rocking it the
Yeah,
whole time.
see? I felt official.
I
You
got
guys
mine
gotta go
on.
buy one. Oh yeah, see, look at that. Support indie podcast.
Dude, I gotta get another one because mine shrunk in the wash.
Oh no! What?
What?
Well,
They're not
that's
supposed
what
to do
happens
that.
with COVID. You
They're
get
so
that
not,
COVID-15.
I would have worn my shirt, but I
COVID-15.
haven't done laundry in like 3 months from this quarantine. So
Well, just buy a shirt.
I'm
It's
on the
brand
back
new.
end.
You've had enough
I'm on
clothes
the
for
back
3
end of my
months.
closet.
We might need to talk about that, sir.
Yep. Time for an
Hey,
intervention.
so music.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
music.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's all good.
T-shirts.
Coming back to music. So obviously, we've been talking about podcasting, and podcasting
Yes.
involves a lot of what? Can you
Talking.
guess? Talking. There you go.
Music.
Hey,
Yeah. So the songs that I have chosen for the GMG Music playlist on Spotify and Apple Music. Thank you so much, Bernabe. The songs that I have chosen, a couple songs here, basically just have the word "talk" in it. So
Couldn't find
first
any-
and foremost,
Couldn't find any songs that
you
said
go.
podcasting in it, huh? Let's sing a
No,
song about
that's
podcasting.
it kind of narrows the
Podcasting is
field
made of
significantly.
these.
So the first song is Coldplay's "Talk," and
Okay.
and the
start.
second song that I'm adding here is probably one you probably haven't heard as much, but Stevie Ray Vaughan, who's an incredible blues singer, blues guitarist. I highly recommend you look up his stuff. Unfortunately, he has passed away. He passed away probably about 20-ish years ago, 20, 30 years ago. But incredible blues man. He has a song called May I Have a Talk With You. And so I'd highly encourage you to check that out. Now, Zach, I mentioned to you before we recorded to have a song.
You didn't say any that had the word "talk."
No,
though.
you do not. You do not in this case.
Okay.
If you
That's
if
good.
you have one, that's great. But no pressure at all. I challenged you to pick a song to add to the morning playlist, and you had one almost immediately. And so,
Yep.
what is that song?
The title theme for The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
You really know your way to
can't-
Marc Boucher's
I
voice.
can't be mad at that. I cannot be mad at that.
Leaving your
Yep, I will,
fingerprints.
So-
I'll be adding that to the playlist for sure. So,
Mark,
Appreciate it.
how does that go, Mark?
for Ocarina of Time,
Yes.
do-do-do-do-do-do-do. It's like really quiet sounding, so it's kind of hard.
It is. I also have it up on my phone. It's also my ringtone.
Oh no way.
Love
Very
it.
nice. Very nice.
I have the item tone as my
Oh,
as
nice.
my text alert. Do-do-do-do.
I have the
Sweet.
breaking pot sound.
Nice.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't have that. I just wanted to say that because I thought that would be a funny sound to have on your phone. Oh no, actually, I have the annoying fairy from Ocarina.
Hey, you! Over here. Hey, listen.
Watch out, Link.
Yeah, exactly.
That was really annoying.
But in any case,
Yeah, that's what Patrick
oh
has.
my gosh,
That's my turn.
Layla. But no, I hope those songs help you get your good morning on.
Nice. That should do the trick. Saving the best for last yet again, Zach. How can people connect with you, your podcast, your community, all of the above? Throw all the ats at us right now.
It's all at Cast Junkie for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then go over to castjunkie.com, and there's a link to the Discord there. You guys can join us there and find the Good Morning Guys channel on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And interact with them there as well.
Fantastic.
And other than that, yeah.
And in our show notes, we should also have something linking to you.
We shall.
Probably.
Yes.
Twitter is preferred. That's the really one that I pay attention to. I'm trying to get into Instagram.
There you go.
But I just have
Yeah,
not
we've been the worst at curating our
we're
Instagram.
past that generation.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
thinking so.
I always
We
noticed
should get a Snapchat going.
that oh gosh. Oh man. Funny story. My
TikTok.
wife tried to get into that like 4 years
TikTok.
ago, the Snapchat, and she spent like 30 minutes on making her avatar, never used it. Like just made her avatar, and then she's like, now what do I do? And they're like, you just send snaps to other people, like directly to them. Yeah, to us. My students? No, not happening.
Exactly.
It's funny, on Instagram I see a lot of students that I had back when I was a teacher, and they'll post their pictures and I'll comment on each other, but then I'll post something, they never comment. I'm like, yeah, I'm too old for this. It's really just the funnel to go to Facebook, because I just do the thing, where you connect
Right.
the two, so you have two birds with one stone.
Yep.
So it's way too much work to do each of them separately. All right. Well, next week, Ronnie, third time's a charm. You're up. So if you don't have a topic next week.
Well, actually,
Wait, what? Oh, gosh.
Nope. Ronnie is really up this time.
Okay. You guys got me for a second. I was like, oh, what happened?
Here we go, Ark.
Yeah.
That's going to be the topic. Hey, we can talk about dinosaurs
morning for
again.
Ark.
We've already talked about dinosaurs, but
See?
I'm ready to talk some more about dinosaurs. So
Do it again.
Let's go.
we'll make dinosaur
really need
sounds.
an excuse to talk about dinosaurs.
No, I don't need an excuse, but it's even better when Ronnie brings it up. I'll be like,
It's
all
true.
right, guys, what did a velociraptor sound like? And that's when we do our best, like, Ross impression. Like, alrighty then, Mark, Pat, Ronnie, and Zach, along with you, our beloved friends, family, and joiners, go get your good morning this week, and may God bless and guide your lives as you live, as you work, as you listen to podcasts, and as you game.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so other than that, we'll have the intro.
Cool.
We'll have a little chat. I'll say random stuff. Ronnie will make fun of me. And then Patrick will squint. If you see him squint, it's because I've said something and he's not sure what it means.
I am the squint master.
You are. I wish that translated to podcasting.
That's the DiCaprio face.
We could just screen cap it and then, just post that on social media.
I think that should be all the on all the graphics. There should be like either a small
Just a
picture in
Patrick
the corner or
squinting.
something of Patrick squinting.
All of our graphics from all our past episodes. You know how like they take a bunch of graphics and can like zoom it out and it's one big graphic. That's what it should.
It's me squinting.
Yeah, it's you squinting.
I'll work on that.
All right.
Perfect. 1, 2, 3.
Cookies and
Strawberry
cream.
banana.
Oh, banana.
Good. What are you talking about? Ronnie, what are you saying?
When he said banana, that's a travesty.
I know you've never met anyone with the name Banana.
We're starting off horribly tonight.
We's a lot of people. Mumbler.
What?
What? Huh?
All right, now I'm ready, I think.
Okay.
Hold on. Now.